guys, welcome back. I know I'm pretty late for posting this new releases video. Coming up towards the mid of January, many of these books have already been released by the time you're seeing this video. This is a pretty decent list. I tried to arrange them in order by genre and then by the date chronologically within that genre, but it's definitely not perfect. I will also list the books that were mentioned in the description box below, so you can have those dates just in case you missed it. The books on this list are ones that specifically appeal to me, that I'm really excited for. There's fantasy, horror, and even some romantasy, even though I'm not really a romantasy reader. I am still trying to see if there's romantasy out there that was written for me. There's some nonfiction, and even that's quite new for me, I know, so that's kind of cool. So let's go ahead and start with the fantasy, of course, and then we'll finish up with nonfiction. All right. A book that came out on January 1st is The Conjurer's Wife by Sara Penner. This author also wrote The Lost Apothecary and The London Seance Society. I have read The Lost Apothecary and it was really good. I own The London Seance Society, but I haven't read it yet. In 1820s Venice, world-renowned magician Oscar van Hoff confounds sold-out crowds with his astounding manifestations. Even his beautiful wife and assistant Olivia is mystified. Her job is to smile and recite her lines on stage and in society. Oh my god, I cannot talk. On stage and in society. But the thankless routine is bringing out her rebellious side. Then, on the eve of what promises to be Oscar's greatest performance yet, Olivia uncovers a secret with the power to shatter all her husband's illusions. Now the finale belongs to her. That sounds so good. The genres that this belongs to is historical fiction, fantasy, short story. It is 40 pages long. It is also an Amazon original story. And when I had Kindle, I noticed this. They have a lot of authors that come together and write little short stories. And I think you can check them out on Kindle. If you have Kindle Unlimited, you can check them out. And then I think also if you have Amazon Prime, you can read them on Amazon Prime. Sorry, that's my phone. Amazon Prime. That might be an option for you. Sometimes these short stories you're not really going to be able to find at your library and stuff because I think they stay I'm not sure. I'm really not sure about that. This sounds so good to me though. I definitely need to read this one. Oh my god, what is going on? Seriously? Okay. I have to snooze that somehow or another. Yeah, it's my son's group me. Messages coming through like crazy. Okay, the next book is A Sea of Unspoken Things by Adrienne Young. And Adrienne Young, okay, this author is, I'm nervous about, okay, because I loved Fable. Didn't care for Namesake, really hated Last Legacy. And then I think there was some Viking book that I really hated. That ended up on, I think, on my DNF'd book list. But then there is The Girl the Sea Gave Back, and that sounded really good. I still might want to give that one a try. And then this one I kind of want to give a try. So this book, A Sea of Unspoken Things, came out January 7th. This is a mystery that follows twins James and Johnny. Through their twin tuition, she can feel when Johnny is killed. She knows and for the first time is totally alone. So she takes a trip to California, their hometown, and has a reunion with a past love. But this also brings her into some mysterious past that Johnny may have been keeping secrets. Mystery, magical realism, and thriller. So this is completely different than a lot of her fantasy works, and I think that that's kind of why I want to give it a try. I have to say that in Fable, I really liked how she wrote the romance because that is where young adult fails for me a lot of the times. It's always this insta love, and I felt that in Fable there wasn't really any romance to speak of, and when there was somebody introduced, it wasn't until the second book, and it seemed so natural and it was very well done. The next one is Witchcraft for Wayward Girls by Grady Hendrix. This came out January 14th. They call them wayward girls, loose girls, girls who grew up too fast, and they're sent to the Wellwood home in St. Augustine, Florida, where unwed mothers are hidden by their families to have their babies in secret, give them up for adoption, and most important of all, to forget any of it ever happened. 15-year-old Fern arrives at the home in sweltering summer in 1970, pregnant, terrified, and alone. Under the watchful eye of the stern Miss Wellwood, she meets a dozen other girls in same predicament. There's Rose, a hippie who insists she's going to find a way to keep her baby and escape the commune. Xenia, a budding musician who knows she's going to go home and marry her baby's father. Holly, a wisp of a girl, barely 14, mute and pregnant, but no one knows who. Everything the girls eat, every moment of their waking day, and everything they're allowed to talk about is strictly controlled by adults who claim they know what's best for them. Then Fern meets a librarian who gives her an occult book about witchcraft. And the power is in the hands of the girls for the first time in their lives. But power can destroy as easily as it creates, and it's never given freely. There's always a price to be paid, and it's usually paid in blood. In Witchcraft for Wayward Girls, the author of How to Sell a Haunted House and Final Girl Support Group delivers another searing, completely original novel. And this is a horror thriller, and obviously about witches. This sounds so good. I think that it's really interesting that a topic about teen pregnancy, pretty much mostly female cast, I believe, is going to be written by a man. I think that's going to be really interesting. I really look forward to this book. I have not read enough of Grady Hendrix. I think I have read one book at this point, but every single book he comes out with seems like such a good book to me. So I'm really looking forward to this one. I actually really like stories about these kinds of things too. Like, they send young teen girls away so nobody knows, so they don't shame their family with being pregnant and stuff like that. How sad that is too for women. The next one is Honeysuckle and Bone by Tobias. This was published January 14th. This is a gothic horror paranormal set in Jamaica. This follows a young girl who's looking for a new start, so she travels to Jamaica where she has an opportunity to work for a very wealthy family as an au pair in their mansion. While the rules are strict, she can't be happier with the new life, but she finds herself being haunted by someone or something when strange things start to happen to her, and it's getting worse. Before it jeopardizes her life and her position with this job, she has to figure it out. As you know, I just love the setting of a house and a gothic novel, and I'm definitely getting into more horror stories. But I'm really intrigued by the setting of this one being in Jamaica. I also love stories where you have, wealth and elitism and things like that. So I think that this is going to be so good. So I'm really intrigued by the setting of Jamaica though, because most of your spooky gothics kind of happen in equally dismal locations like dark forests. And this takes place on a tropical island. Now, granted, Jamaica, I think, has a lot of forestry, but it's tropical forest. You just don't think, gothic forest on a tropical island where you're thinking of going to the beach and surfing and things like that. So, yeah, I'm very, very interested in this. This also looks to be like a debut novel. The next one is I Am Not Jessica Chen by Anne Lang. This one will be published January 28th. This is a young adult fantasy magical realism along with... Now, reading over the summary, this makes me feel that it's kind of along the same vein as that Disney original movie called Wish Upon a Star. Do you remember that? Unless you're in your 30s, you probably don't know of it. And it's kind of like... definitely like old school. I still love that movie to this day. But the summary of this, I'm Not Jessica Chen follows Jenna Chen, who has high expectations from her Asian immigrant family to excel and go to Ivy League college. Only she just can't seem to make the cut. She makes a wish to be more like her cousin, Jessica Chen. I don't think that she actually expected what would happen, that she would actually become Jessica. But based on the summary and the way they explained it, I think it's more like she's trapped in Jessica's body. I don't think that she just is herself and just wears Jessica's body, if that makes sense. Like she's in control of it. So I'm not sure if that's how it is. That's just what I'm anticipating based on how they explained it. Because they said that she's trapped in Jessica's body where she can see all of her private journals and know all of her secrets. She discovers that being in the elite high competitive academy isn't exactly what she thought it was like. This sounds so incredibly good. It includes a lot of themes that I have found that I really, really like regarding elitism, disillusionment of, things aren't always greener on the other side, no matter how perfect you think someone's life is. That competition element of, trying to be perfect and just wanting desperately to please some fictitious entity or chase some dream that maybe not even is your dream. You've just been raised to think that that's what you need to do. So I think this is going to be so good. Our Winter Monster by Dennis Mahoney. This is also expected to be released January 28th. Holiday horror about an unhappy couple running from their problems and straight into the maw of a terrifying beast, perfect for fans of Paul Tremblay and Sara Gran. Now, I have no frame reference for either of those comparisons, and after reading the summary of this, I think that it gives away way too much information, so don't read it. I think that you need to not read it going into this book. I obviously had to because I had to put together this video. But all you need to know is that this is going to be a creature feature horror, and you're following a couple who was in an accident and a police officer who's obviously at the center trying to figure out the mystery of this missing couple. All right, the next one is called Boudiccs. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, by PC Cast. This was released January 21st. This one I'm really on the fence about. This is the one romantasy that I put on the list. Is it the one? There might be another one. I'm not sure. This is a romantasy genre, and you know how I feel about romantasy, but I am familiar with the author PC Cast. I read a ton of her House of Night series books, and I kind of want to give this a shot. According to the summary, it does seem like there's quite a bit of plot and history in this, so here's what the summary has to say. This is about a British warrior queen, Boudiccs, perfect for fans of Sue Lynn Tan and Madeline Miller. To be honest, I really don't know if I can trust comparisons anymore. I feel like more often than not, they kind of let me down. I really should probably stop reading them altogether, but sometimes I just can't help myself because it's familiar and like that's literally the point, and I fall for it every single time. Anyways, in Roman-occupied Britain, the Iceni tribe, I think I'm saying that right, the Iceni tribe crowns an extraordinary new queen. Boudiccs is devoted to Andraste, the Iceni's patron goddess. Known for her raven familiar, her fierceness, and her swirling blue tattoos, Boudiccs and her two young daughters will carry the tribe forward in dangerous times. Roman tax collector Catus Decinius, these names, tongue twisters, and I'm already not off to a good start today anyways. Expecting weakness in a female ruler, launches a devastating attack on the tribe's stronghold. Boudiccs and her family barely survive, but they refuse to bend the knee. She calls a war council, bringing together her most trustworthy allies, including her childhood friend, Ron, now a powerful druid seer and a horse master, Maldwin, whose devotion to Boudiccs runs deeper than a warrior to a queen. The druid Ron foresees a tragic end to Boudiccs' rebellion. Although the defeat of the Iceni is spelled out in the signs set to the gods, Ron swears she will alter the future and save her queen, Boudiccs, to save her from both the traitors in her midst and from Rome's mighty legions. Inspired by the rich history of Boudiccs' attack on Roman Britain, PC Cast crafts an epic mythic retelling of one of time's most legendary female warriors. Okay, the summary on that is really long. It seems like there's a ton of plot. I really hope that one's a good one. All right, the next one is Mother of Rome by Lauren J.A. Baer. This was released January 7th. This is a reimagining of the earliest Roman legend, the twins Romulus and Remus, mythical founders of history's greatest empire, and the woman whose sacrifice made it all possible. The names may be immortalized in map and stone and chronicle, but their mother exists only as a preface to her son's journey. The princess turned oath-breaking priestess, condemned to death alongside her children. But she did not die, she survived, and so does her story. Beautiful, royal, rich, Rhea has it all, until her father loses his kingdom in a treacherous coup, and she is sent to the ordeal of the Vestal Virgins to ensure she will never produce an heir. Except when mortals scheme, gods laugh. Rhea becomes pregnant, and human society turns against her. Abandoned, ostracized, and facing the greatest punishment, Rhea forges a dangerous deal with the divine, one that will forever change the trajectory of her life and her beloved land. To save her sons and reclaim their birthright, Rhea must summon nature's mightiest force, a mother's love, and fight. All roads may lead to Rome, but they began with Rhea Silva. Now, myth retellings, I feel like sometimes don't always work for me a lot of the time. I don't know why. This one really appealed to me because of the relationship of a mother and her sons, and I can't say that in fantasy that's really featured a whole lot, where that's like the primary dynamic, because it's usually always like some romantic dynamic that's at the heart of the story. So like I'm already feeling kind of refreshed, and I think it's kind of interesting that we have two well, this one's Rome and then this one's British, but Roman occupied Britain. So both of these are Roman myths. So Mystery Royale by Kaitlyn, Cavalancia. I think that's how you say her name. I'm sorry. Beautiful name. I just wish I could pronounce it right. This one was released January 7th. This claims to be the Inheritance Games meets Hotel Magnifique in this genre splicing young adult fantastical mystery. I read Inheritance Games. I really enjoyed it. It's super fun. Hotel Magnifique I have not read, but I am reading The Otherworld Post, which actually isn't going to be out until March. And so far that book is so good. I'm not even that far into it, and it's really, really good. And I've heard Hotel Magnifique is really good. I do really want to read that one as well at some point. Now this follows a girl who I'm thinking is on her own. Like her mom left or something. And she left her with a severe warning to run if the strange finds you. But she isn't quite a believer, and she has to pay the bills and take care of her sick gran. But suddenly these mysterious letters appear, and she heeds her mother's warning at first and doesn't look at them until eventually she just can't help it anymore, and curiosity wins out, and she opens one of the sealed letters. And it happens to be an invitation to participate in this Mystery Royale for a chance to win an inheritance. So, of course, you can already surmise that because of her situation, she really needs that money. So she obviously naturally agrees. Now, this I'm kind of on the fence and a little bit worried, because I'm a little bit worried about a whole nother Caraval situation. And as long as this one doesn't get carried away with some ridiculous romance, then I'm really excited for this. I'm a little cautious, because whenever a book is like, oh my gosh, it's like these two books, it most oftentimes is not. So, but it does sound really good. The whole premise sounds really good. So I'm really hoping for the best. I do want to give this one a try. All right, we are into the nonfiction section. We have Y2K, How the 2000s Became Everything, Essays on the Future That Never Was by Colette Shade. This was released January 7th, and this is a collection of essays about the Y2K era, the generation-defining period that birthed everything from AOL Instant Messenger, the Hummer H2, bling era rap, and low-rise jeans, to McMansions, anti-Bush chain emails, Abu Ghraib, I'm not sure what that is, and the subprime mortgage crisis. Now, I was born in 1985, so pretty much the whole of the 90s and the Y2K is like my jam. Incredibly nostalgic time for me, and personally I'm really looking forward to this. The reviewer Whitney says that this is actually quite a profound commentary on how that era really shaped the world how it is today. I don't want to spoil anything else, because I felt like this does initially seem like it could be a bubbly, fun, light-hearted book, but it does also have more to offer. That is really nice to know. That's what I would want. Also, this looks to be an author debut. All right, The Sinners All Bow by Kate Winkler Dawson. This was released January 7th. This is a nonfiction historical true crime novel which investigates what really happened in 1832, a crime that inspired the Nathaniel Hawthorne book The Scarlet Letter. Sarah Cornell was found hanging in a barn, 4 months pregnant after a disgraceful liaison with a charismatic Methodist minister, Reverend Ephraim Avery. Some of Avery's lawyers, I don't know why that's in parentheses, some Avery's lawyers claimed her death was suicide, but others weren't so sure. Victorian writer Catherine Williams investigated the crime and wrote a book which was sensation and divided the public on this case. The Reverend was never convicted of a crime. Kate Winkler Dawson uses the modern investigative technology to see what really happened. I didn't include it here, but in the summary on the thing, it did mention some certain technology device that can look at things like this. So I think that it's going to be really credible, which is really important when you're looking into a book like this. Now, I'm gonna sneeze. I've never read The Scarlet Letter. I actually attempted it a few years ago, and I'm vaguely familiar with the story already. I attempted to read it once, but the language I felt was really difficult to read. And this story sounds so incredibly interesting. I am really into true crime, and I didn't know that The Scarlet Letter was actually based off of a true crime story. Well, it inspired, so it's probably not really like the story. So I think it'd be really interesting to read this and then follow it up and try to read Scarlet Letter again. Now we have Three Wild Dogs and the Truth, a memoir by Markus Zusack. I really like memoirs. I like goofy memoirs. Something about this kind of reminds me of Let's Pretend This Never Happened, kind of. This says it's a funny, honest memoir. Markus Zusack tells the story of his family's adoption of 3 rescue dogs and the chaos that comes after, like street fights, park fights, public shamings, property damages, injuries, hospital visits, wellness checks, pure comedy, shocking tragedy, and carnage that must be read to be believed. A memoir about the human need for both connection and disorder. A love letter to animals who bring hilarity and beauty, but also the visceral truth of the natural world. Straight to our doors and into our lives and change us forever. This will be released January 21st. This sounds so adorable. Markus Zusack, what did he write? He wrote The Book Thief, right? Yeah, he wrote The Book Thief. So, and then the very last one, still nonfiction, is The Good Mother Myth, Unlearning Our Bad Ideas About How to Be a Good Mother by Nancy Reddy. This should be released January 21st. As a mom, this one really appeals to me because I really like seeing different philosophies around parenting. So I'm just going to go ahead and read the exact summary. I think that they do it better. I just think that this one is incredibly interesting, and it kind of falls back on what my mother-in-law used to always say. And I never really prescribe to any right or wrong way. I don't think that... I am curious if there's something that I've maybe learned through a cultural shift, and I'm pretty sure that there is. For example, I mean, because there is no way around it, like most people my age, our parenting style in philosophies sometimes are kind of similar. You know, our mother's generations, like our parents, did some things that we can all relate to that we definitely don't do to our kids these days. And then their parents, my grandparents, raised my mom's generation in ways that my mom didn't do with us. So like every generation, it does seem like there is a cultural shift in how we raise our kids. And there's a lot of things that are different, but there's some things that are kind of similar. I think that that's just such a fascinating thing to analyze. So here's the summary. Timely and thought-provoking, Nancy Reddy unpacks and debunks the bad ideas that have for too long defined what it means to be a good mom. When Nancy Reddy had her first child, she found herself suddenly confronted with the ideal of a perfect mother, a woman who was constantly available, endlessly patient, and immediately invested in her child, to the exclusion of all else. And I have to say, like, I kind of relate to this because I didn't have a lot of mom friends. Other mom friends that I knew had much different lifestyle than I had. We were much different places in our parenting journey, in our lifestyle, in our life's journey, because I would say I was fairly young when I had my first child. I was 23, and so my friends were a little bit older than me, or they just maybe been doing it a little bit. One of my friends was a little bit older than me. Another one of my friends was probably younger when she had her first, but she was like already having her second child, I think. Yes, that is true. And she grew up with kids. I didn't grow up with kids. So we all have these different experiences that we bring into raising our kids as parents. And I personally felt so lost. And I worked so much. My husband was the stay-at-home dad during that time in our lives. I put this pressure on myself that I needed to be better. I needed to be like my friends. You know, I felt inferior. I felt like I wasn't as good a mom because I didn't do things like they did, or I didn't, whatever. Looking back on that now, like I was so hard on myself, and they got to be home all the time with their children. And because I worked like all the time, I had to work on the weekends. Like even when they were school aged, like I'd miss out on weekends because those were my longest work days. They were our busiest work days. Reddy had been raised by a single working mother, considered herself a feminist, and was well on her way to a PhD. Why did doing motherhood right feel so wrong. For answers, Reddy turned to the 20th century social scientists and psychologists whose work still forms a basis of so much of what we believe about parenting. It seems ludicrous to imagine modern moms taking advice from mid-century researchers, yet their bad ideas about so-called good motherhood have seeped pervasively into our cultural norms. Really? Okay, I am so intrigued. All right, that concludes this list of books that have been newly released in January. I'm falling behind a little bit. I do plan to do this for every month this year. We're gonna try. I might fall off come summer. I always do, but we have very big summer plans, so we'll see if I can stay consistent with it. If I plan ahead like I should be all right. If you are interested to know when those videos come out, you can absolutely subscribe and click the bell to be notified when those videos are posted. It is free for you. It doesn't cost you anything, and it helps my channel out a lot. And my self-worth. No, I'm just kidding. But it does make me happy to know that you guys like my channel enough to subscribe. So there's tons of new releases coming out. I didn't really add any mystery or thrillers on here. I kind of kept the list a little bit smaller. I personally get overwhelmed when there are really long lists of books. Let me know if there's any new releases that you're very excited about that I need to know about as well. There are always so many books coming out. I know I missed some. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you soon. Bye.